We're going to talk about the Lankavatara Sutra. This is the only sutra that the first patriarch of Zen Buddhism, Bodhidharma, passed down to the second patriarch, Huike, from master to master, Buddha to Buddha. The word Lanka is actually a city like Sri Lanka. It's the city on the top of the mountain. Avatara is the ultimate jewel. The whole mountain is made out of precious jewels. That's the place where Buddha is. It is very difficult to get to, almost impossible, because it's treacherous and dangerous. How do we get there? We will try to explain the sutra as a whole in terms of the 4 doctrines. One is the 5 dharmas. The second one is the 3 natures. Then we have the 8 consciousnesses. Then 2 kinds of no-self. So you just have to remember them like the telephone number. 5, 3, 8, 2. Everything is described as the 5 dharmas. The first dharma is name. We give everything an identity, a name. For example, we have me, I, and my mom, my dad. We label everything with a name. We might like name brand such as Louis Vuitton or Mercedes or Rolex. We give value based on fabricated concept of our mind. The sutra is letting us know that everything is created by our mind only. There's nothing existing outside of our mind. This name is also fabricated from our mind. Number 2 is appearances. We have name, we have appearances. That means all the form that you see in this world of phenomenon, a thing, person, event, is all appearances. We attach to these appearances. We start having emotions and we create karma. We might have greed, anger, or ignorance based on attaching to all the life situation. So we arrive to number 3, our discrimination, our conceptual mind. Because we are attached to the name and attached to the appearances, we start having discrimination. We think in terms of duality. What is beneficial to me? What is gain? What is loss? What is pleasure? What is pain? This discrimination itself is already full of the idea of me, the ego. We think in terms of the ego. That's how we discriminate. These 3 dharmas are the world of a mundane person. How do we ascend to a different world? We need to understand that name, appearances, and our discrimination are only false images created by our mind. That's how we have number 4, right knowledge, and number 5, suchness, the reality. We learn Buddhism to see the truth of the world. It's called right knowledge. This is an inner state of self-realization of noble wisdom. We can call it prajna. This wisdom is an insight, knowing the illusory nature of name, appearances, the object of the world, and our discrimination, the subject of the world. They're both only made from the mind. If we can get away from the conceptual mind, that would be the real awareness, the true insight, the right knowledge. If we can wake up to the reality, we will see the ultimate truth, which is our true suchness. When the name and the appearances are put away, the discrimination will cease. That which is remained is the Buddha nature. the nature of all things. Ultimate, pure reality. This is the absolute truth. Only this is real. When you reach here, you also let go of the idea of suchness, because all names and all labels are just concept. We let it go as well. These 5 dharmas consist of all things. Now we explain them in terms of the 3 natures and 8 consciousnesses. The name and appearances are called the other dependent nature. How do they come about? They are other dependent, dependent on cause and effect. Without cause and effect, you will have no name or appearances. This cause and effect is actually from our own alaya consciousness. We have this big storehouse that stores all our karmic seeds from many prior lifetimes. Or our thoughts or our action, they are seeds, or we call it habit energy or impression. When the conditions are right, they will ripen into what we call the phenomenon world. So everything you see in the phenomenon world, they are not as real as you think. They are actually created from our Laya consciousness. It's like an ever-spinning whirlpool. It doesn't stop. It keeps accumulating seeds from moment to moment. And these seeds are developed from the first 7 consciousness. This circle, which is the 6th consciousness, it includes all 5 consciousnesses before this. So our eye consciousness, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That's how we conceptualize, see, and experience the world. But this is based on the 7 consciousness, the ego. We love ourselves so much, we think the alaya consciousness is me. And we base all our thinking on this manas. And whatever we think becomes our action, becomes our words. We have greed, anger, and ignorance. And we create killing, stealing, and lust. All these get stored back into the alaya consciousness as seeds. These habit energies, they will ripen into result. All these is created by this deluded mind. This is not our Buddha nature. This is an ignorant mind. This is when we are full of the self. Buddha nature have no self. This is Buddha nature. This is our deluded mind. If you understand its illusory nature, no longer attached to your outside world, this alaya consciousness itself, when it's purified, it is the suchness. It is the true reality. Living in the alaya, we are living in a dream state. When someone is yelling at us, we think it's so real, we become very angry. If we know there is not the person outside of us, and not the words, and not a self, then we will no longer be angry. Because we perceive it as real, we become angry. Or we have to get the Louis Vuitton bag or the Mercedes because we perceive them as very valuable. If we can only see this is only a life that we fabricated from our alaya consciousness, we will be awakened. All you have to know is illusory. Oftentimes, we describe them in terms of these 3 natures. The nature of all things, which is dependent on conditions, wandering thoughts or false imagination, and the fully accomplished nature is our true suchness. If we always live in the conceptualized nature, in our conceptualized thinking, we are like the audience who's watching and completely absorbed in this movie, thinking it's real. We're caught up in this drama of life. If we can see it's only made out of cause and condition, we are like the actors. We know we're making a film. We're only acting right now. That's a higher insight of wisdom. But if you can become the director, directing your whole life. Your emotion is not constantly controlled by the ups and downs of the world. Without the conceptualization, without the discrimination, then you will realize these two kinds of no self. Egolessness of persons, egolessness of things. Right now, we are ignorant. We think there is a real, permanent me. And we think everything outside of us is really existing. These two beliefs is hindering us from becoming a Buddha. But when you're awakened, you will realize that there's no such thing as I or ego. It's only a fabrication. There's no me and there's no things. That's why it's called yogacara, consciousness only. Everything is only manifestation of our mind. And that is the truth. That is reality. Through meditation, contemplate on this fact. One day you will come to this awakening that everything is only a dream. When you have this kind of insight, you can be a true bodhisattva. You live this life not attached to anyone or anything, but help everyone to become enlightened. That's someone who is awakened. This is when we reach the top of the mountain. Even though it's treacherous and difficult, we will get there eventually. The sutra keeps saying everything is unborn. Unborn means there's no actual rising or ceasing or abiding. When you see the real truth, you will no longer need the LV bag. You will no longer need the Mercedes to make you happy. They are only condition arising, and you will not be offended when other people are passing judgment on you or hurting your feeling. It's only your karma coming from your Laya consciousness. Nothing is for real. It's just a dream for you to come into realization and reach this epiphany. That's when we will become a true enlightened being, back to our original suchness. Thank you very much for listening. Amitabha.